This week, unemployment figures have revealed that the number of people out of work has increased by 88,000 to get this 2.47 million across the UK. But there is some good news. Apparently the speed of the growth has actually slowed down. To tell us more, we're joined by Laura Sharpe from Sharpe Recruitment. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
So unemployment has still gone up, but it's the rate in which it's gone up has slowed down. Is that right?
Yeah, the growth has slowed down, which is great news. And I think that's set to continue, really. If anything, I think the growth is probably about to peak. And the signs of that is the fact that people are talking about the recession coming to an end, which is great news because it means hopefully unemployment will then start to fall. There is going to be a long, path to recovery from the recession, but I do think, when you're on recovery, that does mean that unemployment does start to fall and there should be more opportunities available for people.
Now, wage growth itself has slowed to its lowest on record. Do you think that's going to hamper the job market?
It shouldn't, no, because wages have always fluctuated. They fluctuate across the country, they fluctuate across skill sets and things like that. And I think as a general rule, yes, there's been some effect from the recession, but what people have tended to find is the effect has been at the lower end of the market. Graduates and school leavers have felt that they've been having to accept 2,000 or 3,000 less than they would normally have done. And then at the higher end of the market, yes, people are finding 5 or 10 grand drops, but in the middle, there's been very little change. It's been minimal. So I think as a result of that, actually, it shouldn't hamper growth at all.
Okay, now the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development, they've warned that up to 1 in 10 men will find themselves unemployed by 2010. Do you agree with this?
I do, yes. I think we're pretty much already there looking at the figures. It definitely is as high as that. I think one of the areas that men have struggled with is the fact they've been in jobs for longer, generally. They don't tend to have as such varied skill sets as women. They tend to do one job and they tend to do it for a long time. And that's why they've been hit, I think, stronger by the recession, because people have found that they've needed people to do more jobs. They've needed people to multitask. And I think, no offence, but that's where men can struggle a little.
Us women can multitask better. You said it, not me.
Well, we did in this papers a little bit earlier, the story that's just come out today, that obviously the unemployment's come from the credit crunch, and apparently the bankers are going back to their old ways, getting bonuses and giving out high-risk mortgages. I presume you've dealt with a lot of people who are out of work and looking to get burnt to it. How insulting is that for them to read that?
Extremely, and I think it's so wrong. And I think we're going to talk a bit later about the government and things, but the government needs to step in there and take some control of them, because it's just ridiculous in my personal opinion.
And at Sharpe Recruitment, have you yourself found a drop in the number of vacancies?
We haven't particularly, but I think that's partly because of the areas we specialise in. We tend to recruit in digital and creative and IT sectors, partly because that was my background before I started in recruitment, and we like to specialise in what we know, really. And those sectors generally, especially in the north, are actually growing. The government has put in a lot of money into the creative and digital industries, and that has helped the job market generally. We are trying to be innovative about sort of new software development and things. So although it's lots of developer jobs and things like that I'm getting on, and they're the ones I'm filling, I am finding actually in the last 2 or 3 months there's been a large increase in job vacancies being registered, which is great.
Definitely. What are the most sought after jobs?
Well, I suppose, because I specialise, I know my market very well, that within my market, the sought after jobs are general, media jobs, digital media, creative marketing, those kind of jobs are very sought after, but it is a very competitive market. And what I found in the last sort of couple of years is people are being educated to do quite general jobs. They're being educated in a little bit of everything, but employers, especially as the credit crunch has started to bite, they've started to split jobs up much more. So for example, you might a couple of years ago have seen a lot of adverts for webmasters, where people would do anything to do with the web within a business. What employers are doing now is splitting that up and actually saying, no, we want one person that specialises in maybe search engine optimization, we want one person that specialises in web content, but the people looking for jobs don't tend to have a specialist area. So I think that's definitely where the people have been struggling, and it's something definitely to look at.
What, you know, we briefly mentioned the government. And you said they're putting money into the, you know, the creative, the digital industries. That's what you've seen. What else could they be doing to help us? Because, you know, we've seen the party conferences. They've outlined what they say they're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big issues I've seen is the volume of money that's spent on what we call quangos. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but, you know, specialist sort of third sector organisations that are set up on government money and are supposed to be a go-between between the government and the private sector and things like that. But actually what seems to be happening is that there's so much bureaucracy in those organisations as well as the government that private sector just finds it so hard to work with the government. So I think they actually need to get rid of that sort of middle layer and be putting money straight in where it needs to be within the private sector and the education sector. They need to be spending money making sure that people are being educated in the right areas.
So finally, what's your final word to the people out there who are maybe at the moment very apprehensive and scared about the market and the future that they face?
Yeah, I think, you know, the thing, I have a very positive attitude, and I think that is so important. I think, you know, if you're looking for a job, you know, don't be disheartened, don't give up. I see success stories every day, and I think that the key thing really for people is to treat looking for a job as a full-time job.
Yeah.
You know, people talk about that all the time, but people forget it as well. So don't forget that if you're looking for a job, get up every day and spend all day, every day looking for a job. And one of the key things is make friends with the people that can help you. Make friends with recruitment consultants like me that want to help, because that generally, those relationships will help you find work, definitely.
Brilliant, and they're there to help you. That is the key message, isn't it? Because people can be very isolated and alone when they're looking for work.
Yeah, and you know, and seek out those specialist consultants in the areas they want to work in. And even if they don't have a lot of experience in those areas, you know, I will give advice to people about how to gain experience. So, you know, just really talk to the right people and make the most of any contacts and any opportunities you have.
So don't be afraid to ask people like yourself for help.
Definitely.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thanks
Thank you.
very much for joining us.